at another time, there was a discussion about those of us who at the time were beginning to teach others how to distribute the larger books, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the hardback Bhagavad Gitas. So we at that time, it was the early 70s again, and we were traveling from temple to temple. And the question was whether or not we should put on displays for the devotees, performing for them a book distribution skit. One of us acts as the non-devotee receiving a book, the other of us acts as a devotee. We're passing each other on the street. Devotee flags the non-devotee down and has an exchange ending up in a book sold. So we asked him, should we perform these skits as we go around and preach to the devotees? And he said, no, it's a little unnatural. He said, but you should travel, you should preach, and you should teach these devotees who you're preaching to how to be sincere. And his point was that that was the essence of book distribution, of preaching. And he went on to articulate that preaching depends on circumstances. So, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but his point was that in dealing with each person, you're going to have a different audience. Therefore, there's no static or rote way to distribute a book or to preach. But he said, by teaching the devotees to be sincere, and he made one of those, at least what I thought at the time was one of those wild sweeping gestures, which was probably just pointed to his heart, but to me, in my mind, he was waving and very sweeping and pointed to his heart, and he said, then if you teach them to be sincere, the real teacher from within will give them information according to circumstances, will teach them how to distribute the books.
Then Prabhupada had requested that Madhavisa Maharaj, Madhavisa Prabhu, who was soon to become Maharaj, should come to Los Angeles and take sannyas. So when Madhavisa took sannyas, it was a very interesting incident, which was really the first time that I had experienced something very unique. I mean, every experience with Srila Prabhupada was unique. But this time, Prabhupada did the entire sannyas initiation ceremony and gave him the name and gave a sannyas lecture. And afterwards, there was a very nice kirtan. So Karandar was there, Keshava, Karandar's brother, and Madhukanta was there, and so many devotees were there. And Prabhupada came out of his Vyasasana, and he came in the crowd. So in those days, we used to have 2 rows. This was in the room where currently the Fate exhibit is. And Srila Prabhupada came and started to dance, So the kirtan just increased more and more and more. So after a while, as we know, those kirtans used to go often out of control. So I know, because in those days I used to be able to jump fairly high, at least 40 to 45 inches off the floor. I used to be able, some way or other, by Krishna's mercy. And at one point, I looked at Prabhupada, and he was higher than me. And I realized, what is this? I couldn't understand. I mean, of course, Prabhupada is a pure devotee. Krishna can lift him up all the way to Gopavrindapal. And here I was a young buck, jumping up almost 45 inches off the floor. And I'm looking at this, and it didn't dawn on me until later that this was almost like an exhibition of transcendental mystic power. That Prabhupada was almost like, literally, 60 inches off the floor, and Madhavisa Maharaj was just on the other side of Prabhupada. And I remember looking at him like bewildered. Well, how is this person jumping and dancing so high? But this was just, this was just the transcendental mercy of Prabhupada exhibiting these pastimes of just transcendental ecstasy like that. So this was a very, very sweet, moment with Prabhupada like that. Of course, to those who are non-devotees, it would be a little difficult to understand, but it was just a very, very kind manifestation of Prabhupada. It is one of these siddhis, or perfections, the Lagima siddhi, or to be lighter than anything. So Prabhupada could exhibit that transcendental potency like that.
Garga Muni had obtained this apartment for him. There was a dump. Oh, tight Garga Muni, bless him. It was a dump. And Srila Prabhupada walks in with Govindadasi. And Govindadasi also has a very interesting, blessed rasa relationship with Srila Prabhupada. She used to tell him, this will never do. And that was part of the requirement for being a good servant with Srila Prabhupada, is that you had to be almost parental with him. because his health was not well, and so you had to have a heavy hand sometimes, which to most people is unthought of with Guru. It just so happens that Srila Prabhupada, because of our Gaudiya Sampradaya, so and being a pure devotee, was so real that he identified his relationship with each individual devotee. And he expected you to respond. If you were going to be a debate, then he wanted to debate. If I wanted to cook and massage and make his home clean and nice always, he would give me that facility till I didn't want it any longer. Well, he comes into this place. Govindadasi says to Gargamuni, "This will never do. We have to find another location." Srila Prabhupada, what do you feel? Prabhupada, Prabhupada's in Calcutta. This was, and Govindadasi says, no, I'm sorry. I have to put my foot down. So she and Gargamuni take off to go find another location. And I'm there with Srila Prabhupada. So there's a television in this place. So he says, turn the TV on. I was like, turn the TV on? Now, I only just joined a month ago. And I'm told, when I joined, oh no, we don't do this, we don't do that, we don't do drugs. In fact, I remember taking my last LSD experience on my way to move into the temple. So I said, okay, I turned the television on. Because we were nothing there. I mean, we were chanting. He was always chanting. Somehow. So this washing machine commercial comes on. And the washing machine is agitating, and it's stick cartoon characters. And Prabhupada is almost on the floor, laughing hysterically. He said, oh, you Western people. He said, you make a box to wash your clothes in, and then you sell it for an exorbitant amount of money, and you have them assume characters. Kirby and Mrs. Kirby and well, we watched. I laughed, of course, frightfully. I laughed because I didn't know whether I should laugh or what. It wasn't until later on that I understood what my position was. In serving him, that is. So he was chuckling. So he wanted me to turn the station. So I turned the station. He wants more commercials. He thought that they were the most interesting, bizarre display of material life he'd ever seen. That they actually make film about sense gratification needs. Okay. Well, that was my first, I guess you would say, experience with Srila Prabhupada that was not in the mode of awe and reverence.